Hello, I'm Pavelsabacky, I'm a composer, and I haven't done this sort of video in a long time, but I thought what we could do today is have a look at I'm a Part of You, the final credits song from the DUAT Beyond Light and Shadow soundtrack. And the game is supposed to be coming out really soon, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, the soundtrack's already out, and you can go and listen to the song because I will not be playing the full thing here. This is going to be sort of a speedrun breakdown, taking a look at some interesting elements. What I should mention is that there are a couple of people who were collaborating on this soundtrack with me as performers, and that was Bianca Sokupova, who is providing the lead vocals, the backing vocals, and the French horn parts here, and also in the previous tracks. And then my father on cello, who's also featured all over the soundtrack. And then specifically in this song, there are live drums recorded by Vaida. So let's have a look at the vocals. That's going to be sort of the main interest of many people, I believe. No vocals in the intro. And then we have verse 1, single tracked, very up close, very fragile. Mostly we're leaving it pretty natural. What is a little unnatural here is you'll notice this automation. And that's this pitch shifter adding an octave below.
I'll be your memory of me.
In the second half of the verse, we went more upfront, so we'll have those two sort of left and right panned copies of the middle, which are slightly less in volume. So they're sort of hugging us. And then the middle one's adding the present.
And stars are lenses from beyond my world. I'll be the rays of sun and the moon.
There's this sort of cute little echo up here.
Sun and the moon, forever with my tears.
Then we get into a pre-chorus or bridge or sort of what do we want to call it. There's a single phrase repeated twice. The first time it's in wide stereo. It's with heavy echo or delay. The second time it's without the delay and rather distorted. And that takes us to the chorus. The interesting thing here is the choir. And that's all Bianca again. And I'll play just the choir by itself. It sounds very strange on itself. In the mix, it works completely fine because it's really acting as a background, supporting the harmony. On its own, you'll hear there's all sorts of timing and sometimes even tuning imperfections, but mostly editing imperfections where I left the breathing in, I left sort of some crackles in, and most importantly, there's this very aggressive sidechain compression coming from this signal here, which is, I believe it was just like a kick drum sample or snare drum sample or something, just some sort of loud transient. Beautiful. And that really, heavy ducking is sort of creating this suction effect, especially with the breaths right in front of it. And on top of that is the chorus melody, which is without lyrics, triple tracked, middle and sides, pretty standard. I'll play it a little bit on its own, then I'll put in the choir underneath so you can hear what it actually sounds like together. Next verse is, again, triple tracked, plus there's me on the backing vocals. I'm not a very good singer, but I'll play that with Bianca together, just so you have an idea of what's happening there. And then there's this sort of sudden, trappy, trashy, distorted sort of breakdown or contrasting element.
Once made of meat and a skin and a bone, I'll see my breath above the dunes when a withered lotus blooms. Now I'm a part of you. Through strangers' lips you'll hear me speak. When sand is glistening, a wind my name shall we. I'll be.
And then it continues pretty much in the same spirit as the ending of the first verse, just different lyrics. But what's happening in here? We have Bianca singing the top line, slightly filtered, if you can hear
Through
that.
strangers' lips you'll hear me speak. When sand is glistening, a wind my name shall we.
Cool, cool. Then we have that processed.
Through strangers' lips you'll hear me speak. When sand is glistening.
All right. And then we have that in my interpretation here with a sort of a weird vocal effect that I did, and it's heavily processed.
Through strangers' lips you'll hear me speak.
And that's supported by 2 tracks, pan, heart left and right, which are both me and Bianca together.
Through strangers' lips you'll hear me speak.
Right? So all that together makes that really nice and crunchy and sort of interesting texture. And then it's double chorus right after. There's no pre-chorus this time. It's pretty much the same, apart from the fact that we have a modulation here. It goes a whole step up, I think. Yeah, a whole step up. So let me just play the ending of the first half of the chorus before the modulation, just the vocals, but you'll hear that it's pretty much the same as before. We have the choir again. We have the vocals triple tracked, and we also have this sort of additional track that I'll show you in a bit. Cool. And then we have the outro, which is very simple, single track again, lyric less, sort of meandering. So again, you can hear that very present octave below her that's created by the pitch shifter plugin. Yeah, and then this thing here, I actually don't remember what that is. Yeah, so that's just combination of Bianca and me probably, and then also some sort of form and shift to add more presence to this whole section. Cool, so that's pretty much all the vocals. I won't be spending this much time on the rest of the buses, don't worry, because obviously the vocals are the most active and interesting, I guess. But let's keep going. So piano, that's probably the least interesting. It's basically a very standard piano backing track. The only thing worth mentioning is that it's 2 different pianos, slightly panned. One of them is sort of brighter. It's the piano in blue. Right, so you can hear they're playing pretty much the same thing. Sometimes one of the pianos plays an extra note than the other one, or skips something, or the octave displacement happens or something. Together, they go like this. Brass. It's going to be fast again. There's only 2 spots where brass are happening. First one here. These are Cinebrass. And then these are Bianca. You can notice it sounds very brittle and almost sort of trombone-y or trumpety, but that's on purpose. It's been done by some EQ tweaking. In the full mix, it sounds pretty smooth, but without that EQ, it would be very buried. Buried? Is that the word? Buried. Underneath all the other elements. So instead of making it louder, which then will, consume energy from other elements, I just sort of tweaked the high end. The second appearance of brass is a brass ensemble, just pretty much in the background supporting the final chorus with some chords. Now strings are a little more interesting, I think. We have a small little appearance of harp right here, which is actually doubling the cello. So I'll get to that in a second. Let's tackle the sul testo strings. There's 2 patches, one high, one lower. So the lower one is pretty much acting as a support of the pianos, sustaining the harmony. And so on. And then the second patch, the high one, comes in later. And so on. It takes over for the ending. Apologies for any occasional clicks and crackles. I found out that OBS for some reason does that sometimes. But anyway, next one is synthesizer string. So this is some sort of I can actually have a look. It's massive. Of course it is. It's affecting preciousness with some sort of EQs, a lot of EQs and tremolo and other stuff. So it's creating sort of a group together with the sul testo strings. And then we have the solo cello, which originally was MIDI, but now it is an actually live recorded cello by my father. So it has sort of these short phrases hidden in the background, and then it's coming in for a little solo in the pre-chorus, and then for the second chorus, it's much more active and sort of brooding underneath. So let's check out some of these. Beautiful. And then there's a little part here doubled with the harp. Basses, which are not used as basses, those are harmonics. It's just sort of adding this twinkling at the intro. That is actually paired with the piano. That's sort of working together there. And then the only other appearance of that is in the pre-chorus. Guitar and bass, again, this is going to be super fast. The bass is very simple, both in sort of the writing and sound. The bass is paired with the Jupiter bass, a synthesizer bass. And then the guitar, it's really just sort of the background element again. A few little phrases here and there. Synthesizers, those are sort of more fun. We have some, I'll come back to the lead one later because that one's sort of special. Plucks. So that happens in the pre-chorus, but then it happens in the last chorus as well. A little louder, and I believe there's like an extra octave above it mixed in. You can also notice the choruses are slightly faster. So the verses are, and the pre-chorus are in the tempo of 58 BPM. The chorus is at 62. It's a small change. The change happens gradually when it's going back to the slower tempo, but it's immediate when we go to the chorus. There was something that was a little bit tricky with the drums later, but we sort of figured it out, so no harm done there. You have some sort of sound designy elements here. Some pulsing. Something called thicker. Okay. And some chord support. Like power chords, basically, or just octaves, probably. Yeah. And then this lead comes in at the last chorus, and it's doubling the vocal in a very cool way. So by itself, it sounds like this. You know, it's sort of adding some aggression and sort of presence to it. And then drums, probably going to be interesting for some people. So let's have a look at the drums. This is the full drum bus, distorted and compressed to hell, tape saturated, and it's just mixed in a little bit with the rest of it. It's still pretty loud, but it's not the main focus. It's just basically adding perceived loudness, in my opinion. It's really, really crunchy and compressed. Then we have the mids and sides. Wojta did an amazing job with the drums. Sides. Right. Oh, we have a little tambourine. Is that a tambourine, I remember? Yeah. Nice. And then these are hi-hats. Yep. And then we have overheads. Cool. Toms. And obviously snares, top and bottom. Those are the reverbs gated, so it's a big reverb, but it cuts off really soon. And then that is supported only at the verses, only at the choruses, by an electronic snare, which is very aggressive. And then lastly, we have kicks. Right? So that's the drums. I like that. Couple additional drum elements here. This sort of middle section, that's where the vocals go sort of crazy. Let's actually hear that with Wojta. He added that extra snare in there. I didn't have that in the original, but I love it. All right, that's it. Hope that was interesting, at least to someone. One last thing I want to do is play this pre-chorus in context with everything together and the cello solo and all of that. A little taste of the full thing, which again you can go listen to on pretty much any streaming platform and YouTube, obviously.